This video is sponsored by KiwiCo. More on that later. Hey, what's up? Sean here, and in my last video, I asked you guys what you wanted to see me make, and this was the most liked comment. Make a custom Sean's Crafts web shooter. So, here we are. If you're new to my channel, then I've already made a whole bunch of functional web shooters from different suits, movies, and video games, but none of them have been retractable. This time though, since we're making a custom Sean's Crafts web shooter, I figured why not spice things up and make it retractable as well, since you guys are always asking me to make that too. And this is the perfect opportunity to do that. I made this web shooter without using any motors or any electronics, so it should be pretty easy to replicate at home yourself. Just so you know, the next video that I make will not be a web shooter video, so you know what that means. Feel free to comment down below what you want me to make next, because I'm always open to your guys' suggestions. I worked really hard to come up with a working design for this web shooter, so I'm really excited to show you guys how I built this. But before I show you how I built this, I want to say a big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, KiwiCo. KiwiCo is on a mission to inspire the next generation of innovators. They make seriously fun science, art, and engineering projects that are designed to help kids become makers. KiwiCo delivers monthly crates that come with all the supplies you need to build a project from start to finish. Every crate also includes kid-friendly instructions as well as detailed magazines containing tons of extra content in them. So for example, check out this cool ballista that they have that actually shoots. If you've been watching me for some time now, then you know I love making this kind of stuff. In fact, I made a cardboard crossbow a while back that's very similar, so there you go. And this, check this out, a fully articulating hydraulic claw. This one is super fun and satisfying to mess around with. And hey, you know what? It reminds me a lot of my claw machine that I built a year ago, which also uses a hydraulic claw. So all this stuff is basically right up my alley. KiwiCo offers 8 subscription lines, each catering to different age groups and topics, so you can be sure to find a perfect match. If you visit kiwico.com/Sean'sCrafts, you'll get 50% off your first month. So if you want to support my channel and get yourself an awesome kit from KiwiCo, check out the link in the description below. Alright, well, retractable web shooter, let's do it. Okay, well, first things first, let's make the shooting mechanism. To make the web shooter shoot, I started by making a barrel out of paper and put super glue all over it to make it really strong and rigid. I've done this part many times before, so if you want to see this more in depth, just watch some of my other web shooter videos. Then there's a little popsicle stick here, and we can pull on the fishing line to release a little bullet that will come flying out. Here's what the bullet looks like, and as you can see, there's a small little notch right there which will get caught on the popsicle stick. I'm using a 0.8 by 8 by 50mm steel compression spring here, which will be linked down below along with the rest of the materials. If you look closely, you'll see I glued an 8x5 magnet on the tip of the bullet here, and that way it can stick to metal objects. Okay, so at this point we have a way to shoot the web shooter. We also have a way to stick to objects. Now we just need to figure out how to retract it. For that, I decided to use a good old tape measure. Yes, that's right. I'm going to take this tape measure apart and use the centerpiece, which has this sort of coil on it. And then I made a little spool out of some scrap plastic and attached some 30-pound braided fishing line, which we can wrap around the spool like this. For all my other web shooters, I normally use some cheap string like this crochet thread, for example, because it's, well, cheap and easy to replace if it breaks. However, unlike all my other web shooters, this time the string is permanently attached to the web shooter, meaning if it breaks, then you're kind of screwed because you can't really replace it. So that's why I went with this super strong 30-pound braided fishing line. That way you can shoot it over and over again and there's no way it's gonna break. Now, we don't really need this whole big chunky piece here, so I just simply trimmed that down to size. Next, I made this sort of enclosure type piece, which I can use to house the coil. And as you can see, the string retracts pretty nicely here. Now, that blue piece also has another purpose, and it's to lock the string and stop it from retracting. Notice there's a little knob of glue on the string right there, and that will get caught in between the groove, which will stop it from retracting. So now I wrapped some paper and craft foam around a bottle cap to make this cone looking piece, which I just glued onto the top of the web shooter with a little bit of super glue. The top portion of the bottle cap is removable and can be attached and detached using a small 5x1 magnet. It's worth mentioning that later on I actually ended up adding more magnets because the recoil on the web shooter when it retracted was so strong that one magnet was not enough, so there's that. The reason I made this part removable is I thought it would be a good idea if I could still access the inside and lubricate the coil if I ever need to. Alright, so here's how all of this is gonna work. Basically, you can wrap all that string around the front like this, and then when you shoot it, all the string will spool off, and once the string reaches the end, it will automatically pop out of that groove, and all the string will get sucked in by the tape measure. This silver piece, which I can wear on my wrist, has two 8x3 magnets on it, which pair together with these other two magnets on the blue piece. Now I can go ahead and take that barrel that we made earlier and glue that right onto the web shooter like this. I didn't show this before, but I made a little groove on the bullet in advance, which I can glue the string in between to permanently attach the string to the bullet. And here I just reinforced the whole thing with jumbo popsicle sticks, which really helped to make it less flimsy, and that's important especially because you don't want it to break when you're applying all that force to insert the spring into the barrel. Okay, well after that I made this little chamber for the string so that it can be contained in there before it all shoots out. And obviously I need some way to be able to wear this, so I made a simple strap out of duct tape and sanded the surfaces so that I could get a nice stick. All that's left to do now is take all this fishing line and make a loop for my index finger, that way I can shoot the web shooter by flexing my wrist. Alright, well here's how you load the web shooter. So first things first, you want to lock the bullet into the barrel, and after that you want to pull out all that string out of the web shooter. Then lock the string in between that groove right there, and once the string stops retracting, you can wrap that whole thing around the spool. Then finally insert that whole thing back inside and it's ready to fire. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely like my previous video as well, which was a functional Spider-Man Homecoming web shooter. Click or tap the screen to check out that video. Thank you very much to my patrons for supporting me on Patreon. And thank you to KiwiCo once again for sponsoring this video. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.